Hey guys, Hugo the Bridge Serenity. I'm back at you with another video. This video is going to be talking about a revelation I had and letting you guys know that Jesus is always going to remove the middleman, because first of all, he is the middleman, and that he's always going to go the non-traditional route to get you what you need or give you what he wants you to have. I was having an issue with a doctor, right? So I was like, hey, I'm experiencing this sensation in my body. I know this is not normal. It's been going on for like 2 years now. I need you to run a test. And they're like, it's probably all in your head. We're not gonna run the test, but we will do a physical for you. I'm back and they're like, oh, you're anemic and your blood is like super low, so make sure you're taking your iron and you have very low vitamin D3 levels. Oh, okay, so are you gonna look into why I have low iron or why I have low vitamin D3? And they're like, no, you're okay. Just take your vitamin D3 and your iron, you'll be fine. Like, no, I'm still having these sensations in my body. You guys need to do this. It was a specific test that I need to get done and they were not trying to do it. The lady was like, no, we're not doing that. Just come back, you know, when your iron's back up and I'm pretty sure the symptoms will be gone. Came back months later, the symptoms were not gone. And so I kind of was like, okay, could you run the test now, because it's been a considerable amount of time and I'm still experiencing the same thing and you now have medical reason to run the test. And she was like, no, I think it's all in your head. I think you just need to take an Advil. This lady is looking me dead in my face and talking to me as if I'm making up everything that I'm saying. She might as well have just said that out of her mouth, because I'm just like, girl, I have been in here 2 times now and saying the same exact thing without any change and you're still gaslighting me. I come back a 3rd time and this lady is still like, no, I'm not gonna do this for you. Like, just sit there and suffer, and then when things get so bad, maybe you can go to the hospital. Like, this lady do not care. I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. And so I'm like, I'm not coming here no more. I'm not coming here no more. So I end up switching doctors. I found another doctor that was great, that was way more attentive, that was like, okay, yeah, there's definitely something wrong here. We need to run all these tests. But I end up having to surrender my job to the Lord. I had to surrender my job. So that means what? I lost my insurance. Couldn't see her anymore. She was out of network and I just didn't have insurance and I was not about to pay out of pocket for all the stuff that she was trying to do. Dang. So now what am I gonna do? So I just sat there, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna apply for insurance. I went to apply for insurance for Medicaid and all this other stuff, got denied for absolutely no reason at all. Why did I get denied? I don't know. Well, I know why I got denied now, but back then I didn't know why I got denied. I was applying, never heard back from them, applied again, got denied, and then I applied for Medicaid. They just were not allowing me to move forward with the process. I'm like, what is going on? I was in my prayer time and the Holy Spirit was like, you're not going to need health insurance for what I'm about to have you do. And I'm like, what? He's like, you're not about to need health insurance. You don't need health insurance. I kind of was like, okay, I'm still going to try to get health insurance anyway, but I'm trusting the Lord in what he's telling me to do. As I'm going throughout my day, I have a memory that comes back to my mind. It was nothing but the Holy Spirit that brought this to my remembrance, because I was not thinking about it. I literally was doing something totally unrelated to this and it came to my mind. I had a memory of a TikTok that I saw, and there was a young woman that was like, you know, you can order your own labs. You don't have to ask the doctor to do it. You can do it on your own. Lady in the TikTok found out that she had a fatty liver or she had fatty something and she had to change a certain thing, but she wouldn't have known that had she not ordered her own labs, right? In the video, she didn't say what website she used. She didn't say what she was doing, but she basically just said her ordering her own labs gave her the answers that she needed without having to go to the doctor. Okay, perfect. I started doing my own research. Lo and behold, I found a way to order my own labs, and it was way cheaper. It was way cheaper than me going to the doctor and asking them to order labs. So I'm like, y'all really was sweating me and gaslighting me over a test that cost 30 bucks. Couldn't put 30 bucks and just do the test? Like $30? Y'all sweating me about $30? Crazy. I started seeing all these variety of tests. I said, you know what? I'm gonna get all 3 of these done. I'm just gonna get all 3 of these done because they're all related to each other, and we're gonna look that up because I know they're gonna find exactly what I want them to look for. Order the test. And then I go to Quest to get my blood drawn. And the lady like, girl, what you doing in here? And I'm like, girl, I've been having these issues with this doctor. This doctor ain't been doing what I've been telling them to do. We just having a little conversation. She then was like, okay, I'm gonna drop you some gems based on everything that you just told me. And she's writing down everything that she wants me to know and giving me names and numbers and addresses to places I need to go to get what I need. Right? I didn't have to look none of this up. She wrote it down on a post-it note, gave it to me. She said, protect this, look it up when you get home. These are the people you need to talk to. This is where you need to go. She draws my blood. She said, your results gonna be back in a couple days. And she said, when you get your results back, take it to the person that I just recommended you to. They're gonna know exactly what to do with that. I'm like, dang, I literally just got all the answers I needed by going to the website and ordering it myself, and then coming in contact with this one lady that had the answer to a couple of things that I needed the answers to without having to go to the doctor. without having to have a middleman. I really feel like medical system in general, like pharmaceuticals and stuff, they're gatekeepers for real. They are real life. A lot of people talk about gatekeepers. They are literally gatekeepers. They do not want to help you, and they do not want you to know what's behind the door. They want you to know how to make yourself better. They don't want to know that. They don't want you to know that you have options. They don't want you to know that you really don't need insurance for real, unless you have like a serious health condition where you're relying on the medical system to help you. But it's kind of just like there are other ways around certain things. And I was just like, dang, it's crazy how the Lord completely took the middleman out the way, and I was able to get everything I needed with God on my own. Wow, I didn't even have to go to the doctor to get that done. Like, I got all these tests done so long ago, I just didn't know that was an option for me. I was just sitting there in amazement like, wow, all these tests that I can get done that I've been wondering about, I could just order it myself. I don't need a doctor's order. I can just do it myself. Like, I was like, wow, that's crazy. When I'm just thinking about that, I'm like, wow, God really will remove the middleman in order for you to have the answers that you need. And then poof, it clicked. I started to reflect on every single thing the Lord has ever done since I started following him, since I started being obedient, since I started like getting in my word and praying and warring in the spirit for myself and other people around me. Nothing the Lord has done has needed a middleman outside of him and has never been traditional. And I first moved out of my mother's house because it was a toxic environment. It was just really, really bad. And I moved out on faith with some people who were not my family, and was staying with them because I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I'm just trusting the Lord that he's gonna help me figure it out. The Lord was like, I got a job for you. And even the way I got that job was non-traditional. Job I had no experience in, no area of expertise in. I wasn't even studying in that area. And the lady just said, God put you on my heart, and she gave me the job. Like, not traditional. There was no reason that lady should have called me back. Matter of fact, my resume at the time sucked. Like, but she said it was something about my name that drew her attention. Like, she was like, something in my spirit was just telling me to give you a call. And then the interview was just so great that she hired me on the spot. Ended up having that job, and I was working there until the Lord told me to release it. Sometimes the Lord will move the middleman out of the way, and Jesus will be your middleman, and it will be looking so out of control. It will be looking so crazy to you, or just so impossible. And it's like, the things that you think you need, you do not need. All you need is Jesus. And sometimes you'll be thinking, oh, I need to get my credit right, or I need to have this degree, or I need to have this money set to the side, or I need to have this, I need to have that, or I need to talk to this real estate agent. I need to talk to this person to get what I need. I need to go to the doctor to get what I need. I need to go to the attorneys to get what I need. And Jesus is like, all you need is me. You don't need this man, you don't need this woman, you don't need this insurance, you don't need any of these things to have what I need you to have these answers, to get the solutions that you need. You just need me and need to listen to what I'm telling you to do, and you will get exactly what you need. You will be exactly where I need you to be and how I need you to be there, and you will come in contact with the people I need you to come in contact with, and you're not going to have to go through anybody else to get it. And sometimes that can be hard to perceive because we've been so conditioned, especially in the United States, we need to go through a certain process. We want a certain job, we got to go to school, we got to get a degree. And we got to get a master's, and we got to get a doctorate. And that's not to say that we should not get education, because we should. But then some people are getting these things thinking it's going to unlock a door that only Jesus himself can unlock for you. You can get the degree, you can have the experience, and if God does not want to open that door, he's not going to open that door. He's not always going to take you the traditional route to have it. And I'll never forget moving out of my mother's house a couple years ago for the first time after never living on my own. I never lived on my own. I never applied for an apartment. I never had no bills in my name. I never lived with anyone outside of family. So I just was really like scared. Like, I had to take a really big leap of faith with me and my kids to have a better life. I was like, I'm willing to like abandon this toxic environment, this dysfunctional situation to have better. And so I packed up all my stuff, packed up my kids, and moved with some people who were not family. It was a very uncomfortable situation, and I knew it was like really, really temporary because the goal was to be on my own. I knew I needed a job. I knew I needed money, and the job that the Lord had blessed me with at the time was not nearly enough to pay any bills, let alone pay for like rent or a mortgage. So I was like, the Lord knew that. And then a couple months into my job, the Lord tells me to surrender it. And then it got really difficult for me to keep it because I was being disobedient and I didn't want to give up the job because I'm like, no, I haven't had a job in so long. I finally got money. I don't want to lose it. And the Lord's like, release it. Just release it. Better for you. There's something else that I want you to have. And so I released the job. And I was so heartbroken because I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm heartbroken because I did not want to get that job up. But the Lord told me that I was not doing what he called me to do there. Like, this was just a temporary place that was going to help me get to the next place. And so I left that job. I moved in with these people who were not my family, and it was just a lot of pressure. Finally, things had got so bad and so uncomfortable for me in that house that I was like, Lord, I need you to get me out of here, and I need you to get me out of here now. And the Lord said, I have a house for you. And I said, a house? And he showed me a vision of the house. He said, it's a spacious house. Because I was looking for apartments, y'all. I was looking for apartments. I was not looking for a house. I said, I can't afford a house. I don't know how to get a house. I don't know who to talk to get a house. And apartments are the only thing I can afford. I can't afford no house. And so I'm looking for apartments, and the Lord's like, just keep looking. You're going to be moved out of here by this day. This day and this time, you'll be out of here. And so the lady I was living with was nagging me. Are you gonna be out of here? When you gonna be out of here? You sure you're gonna be out of here? And just doing all this stuff that was just like really getting on my nerves. But I know that the Lord was stirring her up in such a way, because if she hadn't, I would have got comfortable. I would have got comfortable and thought I had more time. But I'm like, no, I need to get out of here, because if I stay here, I'm gonna have to deal with that. And I'm not trying to deal with her or the demons operating behind her. Just don't want to deal with that. Literally that day that the Lord promised me I would be out of there, I got the keys. How that ended up happening, I ended up going to view an apartment or something that was way smaller and within like the budget that I wanted. And so the people had met me, and they liked me and my kids so much, and they're like, oh my goodness, you work for this international, you know, Christian company? And I was like, yeah. They're like, oh my goodness, we have people that work there. Oh my goodness, you know. I ended up not getting the place that I was looking for, but they called me back and was like, we have a house that's vacant, that's a 3-bedroom full house with a 2-car garage that we think you and the kids would love, and we really want to offer you that house, because even though it's more than what your budget is, we know it's just, you were really on our hearts, and we really want to give it to you. Keys that day. Signed the contract, got the keys that day. I'm like, dang, I can't sign the contract. I said, I don't have money for the deposit. They said, oh, it's okay, you could just pay us in monthly increments for the deposit, don't worry about it. I ended up moving in, getting my keys that day in a non-traditional way, and then my credit sucked, y'all. I need y'all to understand, my credit sucked. My credit was like really, really bad, because I had let it drop because I was trying to figure out some stuff, and I just was not working on it, keeping tabs on it. And then when you're not actively building your credit, it just drops and drops and drops. And then I kind of like just fell behind on some bills, and then my credit just tanked and went to nothing. And I was able to get that house with bad credit. I was able to get that house with no money for the security deposit. And before I had anything, the Lord allowed me to be in that place. It was a very non-traditional route, and I did not need to have the things that people would have told me that I needed to have in order to have that place. When people saw my house, they like, man, like, her credit looked like this, and I thought she ain't had no money. How was she able to get? But God. I need to have anything, and I did not need to go run my credit. I didn't need to go anything. I just needed to be in the right place at the right time and meet the right people and be obedient. And I promise you, I went to go view that place, and I had a good feeling about that place. And I was so disappointed when I didn't get it, just to get a phone call with me getting something better. I ended up needing to go view that place so I can meet the people who were the landlords over that place, so they can give me something else. God did not have me settle, and he did not have me go to that place just for me to be disappointed, but he had me go to that place because he had better in store for me. And I did not even apply. Y'all, I did not even apply to be in that house. Fill out no application. Favor, you guys. And even when they saw my credit, they like, hey, we kind of concerned about your credit or whatever, but you know, God led us to this, so we still gonna give you the keys. Non-traditional God, a God who will remove the middleman, a God who will still find a way to give you what it is that you need, or make sure that you have what you need, or be where he wants you to be without going the traditional route. Even my testimony with my marriage promise has been non-traditional. This whole situation has been very frustrating to me, because I would have moments with God. I'm like, why you even tell me I was gonna be a wife in the first place? I didn't ask. Like, I didn't ask, Lord. I didn't ask you about a husband. I never went to the Lord in my prayer time and asked him for a husband. Y'all, I did not care about getting married. I did not care about being married ever again. I had it in my mind already that I was going to be single. And all I wanted was my moonies in a nice house and a good life with me and my kids. That's it. That's all I wanted. I never went to God in prayer and said, God, give me a husband. I want a husband. Please, 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 please. No, that was not me. And I never said that prayer. I didn't even have a desire for one. I was cool. Lord came to me. He came to me and was like, I have a man for you. Gave me the description, gave me all the details about our marriage promise. Said, what now? And I was just like, okay. And I got all excited because I said, okay, great. God wants to give me this. He wants me to be a wife. Cool. Years began to pass. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, why did you even tell me that I was going to be a wife if I was not going to meet that man until years later? You know, why not just have me mind my black owned business, and then poof, he just come when he come. And then we meet, and it's like, whatever. But if the Lord had not told me all those years ago that I was going to be a wife, I would have never been preparing to be one. I would have never been in expectancy for one. That man probably would have came into my life, and I probably would have been like, kicked him to the curb. Probably wouldn't have even tried to hear nothing. I got everything I need. It's me and Jesus. I don't need you. I'm a strong, independent, I-N-D-E-P-E-N-D-E-N-T. Do you know what that? Get out my face. Okay, I wouldn't have been trying to hear nothing he had to say. I'm like, I don't need no man, I'm cool. It's been me, God, and my babies, I'm cool. I wouldn't have been trying to date no man. And now, if God did not tell me that I was going to be a wife, I promise y'all I wouldn't be trying to be bothered with no man. God did not speak it to me. He knows the attitude I would have had. He knows the attitude I would have had towards men. He knows. And he's like, I have to prepare you years in advance. And the Lord had also told me beforehand, because he was going to take me through a process. He was going to take me through a process of preparation, of refinement to prepare me for it. And he also told me in advance because he did not want my heart to grow hard. Because he knew that it was going to be a long time before the promise actually manifested and my season had approached. It's the right time for me to get married. And he also knew that when it was time for me to get married, that it was going to happen quick. It was going to be the traditional way. It was not going to be the way most people get married. It was not going to be the way a lot of people get married. And my story was going to be very, very different. And the Lord knew this, so he had to prepare me in advance. If he had not told me in advance, I would have never went through this non-traditional process and been praying, you know, for this man or may not have met or may not have crossed paths with, and hypothetically hearing some things and then not seeing it manifest in the physical and just waiting, you know, on God and going through this frustrating process of like, why? I wish I didn't even know. You didn't even say anything to me. But if you had not said anything to me, God knows where I would be. I probably wouldn't have had no man in mind, and I probably would have been moving in my life as if there was going to be nobody coming into my life. I would not have prepared for that. I wouldn't have prepared for any of it. I wouldn't be the woman I am today. It probably would have been reversed. You know, my husband would have met me like, oh, I know you ain't trying to set me up with this girl. Girl mean. She is mean. And God knows me so well, because if my husband had met me before the Lord had told me about him and gave me like a description of what to look for, his characteristics and things like that, if he had approached me without me knowing that information and he came up to me and said, yeah, I'm having dreams about you and the Lord said you're my wife, I would have been like, the devil is a lie, get out of my face. I would like, get out of my face. Now, can I have your number? Absolutely not. You sound nuts. Can I take you on a date? No, you're probably crazy. Every time he would have tried to talk to me, he would have seen my gun. Like, okay, every time I approach her, she act like she want to pull the trigger. Okay, she think I'm a danger to her. She seems emotionally unavailable. And there's a barrier of like, Lord, this can't be my wife. Her heart is so hard. Like, how am I supposed to win her over? Like, how am I supposed to woo her? Because it's not working. So if the Lord, he know me so well, because I instantly be like, who are you and why are you here? What you doing here? Y'all, I would have been so mean. I would have been so mean. I would have been so mean. So the Lord had took me through that preparation and refinement process. So I have a heart of expectancy and I'm always looking out for it. And if he had not told me beforehand, I would have never been on the lookout for it. And I probably would have sabotaged myself and sabotaged my blessing. And if my husband did meet me and we came into this place in the middle and he's ready and he's trying to marry me, I probably would turn him away. That's how adamant I was on remaining single and just being me and my kids. I had absolutely no intention on being married. I had absolutely no intention on really being with a man or giving a man a chance. And the Lord told me, like, you're not going to meet your husband on a dating app. You're not going to meet your husband dating a bunch of people and then you're going to date a bunch of people and then you're just going to stumble upon your husband. You're not going to have to be outside in the streets and stuff like that. I have you hidden. And the way that you and your husband are going to come together is going to be in such a supernatural way. And it's going to be sudden and it's not going to be like any other testimony that you've heard, because it's going to be a non-traditional way that I orchestrated, catered and tailored to you and him. And so I knew that it had to be this way for a reason. And if it didn't go this way, I wouldn't have been ready and I probably would have sabotaged it. He probably would have met me and been really discouraged himself or been insanely rejected by me, because I'd have been like, skirt, skirt. If you think you're getting in my drawers, you met the wrong one. Abstinent 3-4 years, sir. Get on out of here. I know what you sniffing around here for. I say all that to say, we serve a God who is not always mindful of tradition. Like, he's aware of tradition, but he's not going to always have you follow tradition. He's going to always have you go the route that makes sense. He's not always going to do things that make sense. Actually, it's going to look like it makes absolutely no sense. I'm just going to be like, okay, I don't even know what's happening right now, but I'm trusting you. I don't even know how I'm going to get here, but I'm trusting you. I don't know how I'm going to get this house, but I'm trusting you. I don't know how I'm going to get married, but I'm trusting you. I don't know how I'm going to get this job, but I'm trusting you. I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm trusting you. Because the way I would go about it is the traditional route, but I know you're a non-traditional God. And I know I don't need a middleman to get to the places that you need me to be in. I don't need a middleman to get in this room. I don't need a middleman to get married. I don't need to go through certain processes to feel qualified. I don't need to have certain credentials to have a job that you want me to have to be in these certain positions. I don't have to work day and night and slave to be a millionaire or do whatever it is that you need me to do. A lot of you are discouraged right now and frustrated right now because it seems like nothing that you're doing is working, understand that it's because the way that you're going is not the traditional way. And so everything that you're doing, it's not going to make sense. It's not going to make sense until it makes sense. It's not going to make sense until it makes sense. And then when you get there and you look back, you be like, oh my goodness. During Jesus' time period, they were upset with him because Jesus always did things that went outside of tradition, did things outside of the norm, and they were uncomfortable with that because it challenged their religious authority. It made them look foolish, and it was offensive to the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and they're like, oh, he's a problem. He's going to cause a revolution. He's going to cause a revolt. He's going to get the people riled up. And if he gets the people riled up, then the Romans are going to come in, and then they're going to try to kick us out of positions of leadership because we can't control the people anymore. So they're like, Jesus, you got to do it this way. And if you're not doing it this way, it's blasphemy. Blasphemy. This isn't the tradition. This isn't the norm. You got to do it this way. But what does the Bible say? There is a way that seems right. There's a way that seems right, but it ain't right. There's a way that seems right that ain't right. It wants us to know. Just wants us to know by me even sharing this video, there is a way that seems right. But that does not mean that's the right way for you to go. I mean, that's the tradition he wants you to follow. That does not mean that is your path. Even though things may look completely and utterly insane, do know that God knows exactly what he's doing and that it may not make sense right now until it makes sense. When it makes sense, you're just going to praise God. You're going to be like, oh my goodness, he was working this entire time. This is what was happening. This is how I got here. It didn't make sense when I was going through, but when I got to my destination, it all came together. You're going to look back and you're just going to be worshiping and praising God. Not grow frustrated with your promise. Still be praying and keeping watch, and still be praying and trusting God through your process, and understand that he got you. He sees the process and you're going the right way. And just because it looked crazy and it doesn't make any sense right now, it may not make sense right now. It makes sense when it makes sense. And do understand that the Lord has you and that we do not serve a traditional God. And the reason why it looks so crazy is because you're not going the traditional way. It seems like it's taking longer because it's not the traditional way. And it also can seem like it's taking longer because people who do things the traditional way, they're constantly doing things in their own strength to work towards certain things, right? So if you're going to school, I'm going to school to get my doctorate, right? They're doing work with their own hands, and they're studying, and then of course God is aiding them in that process, but they're doing a lot of work to work towards it. So by the time they get their doctorate degree, or by the time they do get these things, it's like, oh, okay, they understand, okay, I got there with God's help, but I also was doing a lot of things to get there. But people who are like us, other people who are not doing those things, it sometimes feels like we're sitting idle. Sometimes it feels like we're not doing enough. Sometimes it feels like we should be doing more. And because we're not doing as much work as the next person to have things that people probably feel like we shouldn't have, or that we didn't earn, it feels like we're not doing enough. It feels like we haven't earned it. It's like, dang, I should be doing more. This is taking forever. Maybe if I did more, I would get there faster. And it's like, no, you're actually taking the same amount of time as the next person, but because you're not working as hard, it seems like it's taking longer. And because you don't have to do as much as the next person, it seems like you're failing. Because you're not doing as much as the next person to earn something that favor is going to get you, it seems like you're in error, and you're not. You're still working with your hands, and you're not being idle. But the Lord is like, you're not being idle, and you're not in error, and you're not being lazy. You don't have to work 10 times as hard and slave away to have things that the Lord is going to give you favor to have. Favor ain't fair. That's why people be mad when God give people stuff. Like, it be favor, and they be like, man, I worked 5-8 years for this, and she didn't really do half the work I did, and she was able to get this. Favor ain't fair. Do understand that it's not making sense right now, but there's no amount of work that you're going to be able to do to earn God's favor. Favor is just favor. And it don't make sense because it's going a non-traditional way, and God's not going to have you go through a middleman to get what you need. Be in the rooms that he wants you to be in. He's just not, because he's not a traditional God. So keep that in mind as you're waiting on. When God told Abraham about his son, he told him long before his son even came. On time, and they grew frustrated with their promise, and they're like, God promised us, but when is this going to happen? The point where they took things in their own hands, right, and caused themselves some trouble. But understand that God told him way before then the son was going to come. And he did it in a non-traditional way. Abraham and Sarah were old, way past childbearing years, and she birthed a child, non-traditional. Mary didn't even get pregnant by the Holy Spirit when she was married. He did it before she got married, non-traditional. And because we do not serve a traditional God, we do not need to have a traditional mindset. Bigger. We need to think outside the box. We need to pray outside the box. Oh, that's a good one. Pray outside the box for God's will and think bigger. Pray that this is the non-traditional way. So Lord, give me the means, give me the wisdom. Always pray for wisdom. Lord, give me the wisdom to navigate this non-traditional path that I've never experienced because it's unfamiliar. patience, that I may not grow weary with this promise or with this situation, because I've never experienced this before. But I know that you are with me and continue to trust him. My name is Abria Serenity. If you haven't already, click that like, subscribe button so you can turn on those notifications so you don't miss any more uploads from me. I love you all with the love of the Lord, and I'll see you guys next time.